Hey folks, welcome to ADSR. I'm Stephen Ellestad. Make sure you subscribe to the ADSR YouTube channel. Follow on social media. So with the release of Komplete 11, there's been all kinds of new things that we're exploring and kind of getting to know. And one of my favorites in the new collection is Flesh, which is a new instrument for both performance and studio production by Tim Exile in association with Native Instruments. And it's a really neat tool because it builds on the kind of some of the concepts from his finger and mouth Reaktor instruments. And this is also inside of Reaktor, but it runs great inside of Komplete Control. And it's just a really neat concept. We've got 12 different samples that we load into slots, and then depending on different parameters we assign, we can have Flesh dynamically create sounds at the sub-level, monophonic and polyphonic, and add effects. But we have tons of different varieties. So in this tutorial, I just wanted to give you a real quick look at the interface. So here's our basic mixer view. We can always get to it by clicking just the Flesh button. And then we have 3 pages for harmony, samples, and sound, as well as individual pages for our both sub and low chordal, our monophonic, our sample, our polyphonic, and our effects. And all of these are kind of controlled. This we can just drag in and out to affect the relative volume. So this is like effectively the mixer page. And then we have 4 big macros that are assigned to spectrum, character length, and modulation. But then we can use our macros page, come here and assign specifically what aspects of a particular sound. And here's our LFOs page. There's all kinds of really cool dynamic, either LFO or envelope-based modulation that we can apply, and what's affecting it, and to what duration. So a lot of really cool opportunities to play here. Then in our macros page, we can see that we have some things that are actively moving, and we can control them all right here. They map beautifully to your keyboard, and they let you shape different things. You know what? Let's just give it a listen. So you can see there's a whole lot of interesting things that are happening there. And it all really starts with the samples page, where we can just drag a sample onto a slot and control things like the threshold for transients, how many bars long the sample is, how many steps, as well as offset and gain. And as we switch these samples, they're following the nature of the other settings that we've got going on here in any of these particular categories. So we see these different kind of presets effectively for this aspect. So this is the polyphonic, and we can come in here and modify what's happening with that. So when I hit play or hit the hold button, and now we can see our level here and our sends here. We can bring that down a little bit. And as we have different samples applied to this sound, we see things change yet again. Even cooler about this is inside of something like Live, we can come in here and actually map these in to multiple sounds, multiple tracks. So this is a setup I've been using to capture ideas, and I just wanted to share it with you a little bit, because really you're going to get to know Flesh by reading the manual and then exploring with different samples, as well as kind of playing with the interactivity on the keyboard. And it's kind of really difficult to demonstrate that in a really quick video. I might do a course on this later, and if so, be sure to check it out. But in the meantime, we can come in here and take a look at what I've got set up. This is wrapped inside of a group, and here's my actual instrument. So if I record something solely on this instrument, it's just going to be the MIDI. But then I've mapped each of my inputs from Flesh instrument, which is the host track, and then I've got it going out of Komplete Control. You can't specify the outputs inside of Flesh. That's kind of a function of Reaktor. I went under the hood and took a look, and everything is routing out through different channels, so it was pretty easy to then just come inside of Live, and Live will show you the outs of in this case, the complete control, or it would be Reaktor if you're in Reaktor. I was able to set them up. So what I did was I just set up flesh out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And each of these is catching one of the particular aspects of the sound. So we come back over here. You got our sub, our mono, our sample, our poly, and our effects, so that I can then come back and resample and revisit and kind of go nuts with that. One thing I also recommend you do in a busy session, maybe just use your resampling track, but here I just also created a stereo layback, so I'm just catching the flesh instrument post effects coming out of here, and everything's in this group. One thing I found is make sure that you're not monitoring all of these individual ones if you're also trying to monitor, say, the instrument or the layback. So I've just turned all of these off, and I'll just want to demonstrate really quickly how we're going to record a couple of different cases of this to catch some ideas in the studio. And so the first one I've got set up is to catch all the individual ones, including a stereo layback. And so we can see right here what's come in. Let me just get rid of this for a moment. Is now if I take these all off, record enable. So I'm going to turn these to auto. And so you can see each of these parts as individually come in, and when I bring them all on, we can now hear. And that's kind of the similar situation to if I had just heard it off of the MIDI. And if I want to alter that MIDI, I can come right here, go to this row, and just record a little bit just of this, turn everybody else off. So we'll see on this one, we just have the MIDI clip of the performance. So if we need to come in here and quantize, we can. One thing I think that is worth also exploring is maybe setting up an input quantize or record quantize, just to make sure you catch your first one. Or even if you're just doing it through autoplay, just kind of triggering that first note exactly on the beat. But a really cool way to work with Flesh, or really any kind of multi-output instrument from Reaktor. So we can see here that I do have this now, and I can easily just come in and say maybe turn these guys back on, and without catching a stereo layback, we're on auto input mode. We'll turn this off. So I can just record that real easily like this. You can see if we do it like this, we can not only capture each of those individual parts one at a time as we're playing it in real time, as well as a stereo layback. You can also come here and just capture it to the instrument and fine tune the performance before we then render it out for different parts. So it's a really cool way to have different options. So one of the other advantages of working like this is that we can record and experiment all kinds of different things with the instrumental and just capturing the MIDI. And then at any point we can capture it as a multi-track or just as a stereo file. So if we come back here and listen to just that stereo file, the first one we did, and we can see we've got it ready to go for chopping, slicing, what have you. But if we just want to hear, which is exceptionally useful when you want to chop it up and start, firing clips from something live, You're going to need to periodically go into your channel if you are using the hold function inside of Flesh, because it will keep playing. So you might have to come in and re-trigger, or just click the hold button here. We can see that even though the track is off, we have some playback happening in there. And so to avoid that, just turn off that hold button. Now we can see that we've gone through here and we've got these individual parts suitable for remixing, for chopping up, for doing all kinds of production. If we just want to hear what we had. We also have a stereo file and all these individual tracks. So that's just a quick way of looking at multiple outputs from Flesh. Like I said, this works from inside Control or within Reaktor. So anyway, hope you've enjoyed this tip. Keep an eye out for more tutorials on all aspects of new Komplete 11 instruments. I'm Stephen Ellestad for ADSR. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.